Good afternoon, friends. Welcome to another video. I recently had a company reach out that has watched my YouTube videos and they said, hey, I really like what you do. Would you mind making a video for us? So I partnered with a company that sells new Harley-Davidson parts. They have a lot of things to offer. They offered me two different options. One was a set of handlebars and one was a passenger pad, a P-pad. For what I do, I didn't see the P-pad fitting what I'm doing right now. Maybe in a future video they'll want me to do something else with that. But right now, they've asked me to install a set of handlebars onto one of my bikes. So today, I'm going to go through that process. First, I'm going to open up the box, give you my first impressions on the bars. I have not seen these things yet. I just got the box this weekend. It was left here at the shop, so I got it this morning when I came in. And now I'm going to open this thing up. I'm going to check this thing out and let you know what I think about it. So these are going to be a 1-inch set of drag bars. They're 25 millimeter or 1 inch. Obviously they're a flat black style. They do have some holes drilled in them, and maybe that's for wiring if you want to do internal wiring or whatnot. I'm not exactly sure, but they do seem to be a heavy duty, built well bar. They're not light, that's for sure. They're fairly heavy, and I feel like they would be a nice bar to have. They feel like they're super good quality. I'm not sure exactly what they're made out of. I'll have to check that out. They do have listings for these on eBay, and I will drop the link in the description below for these bars specifically. What my plan is to move the camera, and I'm going to do a point of view type of installation. So I'm actually going to strap the camera to my forehead here, and I'm going to show you the process of taking the old bars off and installing new bars, and kind of what you'll need, what tools you'll need and whatnot. I'm going to be using some electric tools, but you can do this with hand tools. Just a simple set of basic mechanics hand tools, some Allen head wrenches and whatnot. Whatever you have around your house, garage, or whatever, you can do this in your yard, in your barn, in your shop or wherever. It's a pretty easy installation. But I'm going to go ahead and get you guys moved and get the camera strapped to my head, and then we'll start the project. Okay, now that I have the camera recording and mounted to my head, I'm going to go ahead and start working on this bike and show you kind of the best way I feel to unmount and mount a new set of handlebars. Now I will be changing quite a bit up on this just to run these bars to make this look the way that I'd like, and honestly you guys can put this together any way that you'd like because everybody's got their own taste, but I'm going to put this together the way that I feel it was going to look good. Anyway, with that, I want to start with taking off the throttle here, and then I'll take off the other hand controls, and then I'll show you the next best practices or what I do in order to take off a set of handlebars. So I'm going to start with the throttle first. Obviously, as you can see, it's got one Allen head and one screw head. I'm not sure what that is. Sometimes when you're working on old bikes, you run into things like that where things are a little goofy. But we're going to go ahead and use what we've got, and we're going to take this apart. And I don't have to take this all the way apart yet, I just have to loosen it, and some of these things are just going to hang for the time being. Once I actually get to the point of mounting the new handlebars, I will change what I'm doing here and start taking things all the way apart. So with the throttle removed, I'll move to the hand controls next, and those are a different size socket. Often you'll see these are screw heads, they'll be Phillips head. And a lot of times you'll see that guys have changed those out because those old Phillips head screws, after taking them on and off a few times, they strip. So now it's a 5/32 Allen head, and we're going to go ahead and loosen these up. With those, I'm just going to let them dangle for now. They're out of the way. I don't have to take them off completely. I'm not going to disassemble it that far. I'm just going to let those things hang next to the bike. I'm going to do the same thing on the brake lever side. I'm going to set all the screws aside on the table here. I'm going to loosen this one up. This should possibly slide all the way off. And the same thing here. I'm just going to move everything to this side and let this dangle. I'll set that cover aside there. One of the things I like to do is loosen up the bottom bolts from the lower risers here. That way I can have these ready to come off, because sometimes holding these and then trying to turn them, they'll spin in here. And if you've done this a few times, you'll understand what I mean. But by loosening these now, while everything is bolted together, it won't allow for these lower risers to move at all, and it makes it a little bit easier. So I'm going to start here. I will be reusing this top clamp. I do like this one. It's going to fit with the risers that I have, so I'm going to reuse this. Sometimes if you order all new risers, you can get the top clamp and the lowers together and then put it all in one piece, but I like this clamp, so I'm going to use this one since I have it. So next I want to go ahead and I want to take these 4 bolts out here, and I'll change my to an Allen head here. I'll get you the size on that. Those are actually a 1/4 inch, so those will be a 1/4 inch Allen. We'll go ahead and get those off next. I do have to say that I love this Milwaukee wrench because you can use it as a ratchet, and then of course it is powered, so once you get these loosened up, you can just go ahead and turn them out all the way. You always want to be careful because the bars are going to move once you start loosening these, and you can slam them down into the tank. Once you get them loose enough, you can roll them all the way forward. Something else to consider when you're putting these on the lower mounts here, sometimes they are not through, like drilled through. Sometimes they have a bolt on the bottom, sometimes they're a short stud and you need a different Allen stud in these. These ones went all the way through, so they're going to have a longer Allen stud, where the ones I'm going to replace these with, the lowers with, actually are not all the way through, so I have to replace the studs as well. Now with the new risers installed, I can actually put the handlebars in place and then put my top clamp on. So I'm going to put the handlebars on next. I'll get those set up. I'll get my top clamp in place here. I'll grab a couple of my new studs and I'll start them. So that way everything's kind of temporarily held in place. Now next, for aesthetics, what I want to do is I want to measure from my lower riser here to the bend and see if I've got an equal amount of space and try to get it as close as possible. And sometimes it's splitting hairs, sometimes it's a necessary evil. I feel like it's pretty close here. Check both sides. We can check the overall too, see what we have. So we're at 13 3/8 on that side. And we'll see what we have here. Yep, we have to come this way a little bit. So you don't want to tighten these up too far. You want to leave it loose enough to be able to shimmy the bars left or right, just in case you're running into some sort of an issue. And this is where a good ratchet comes into place. Makes things just that much easier. I will recheck it again here and see where we're at. We're at 13.5 there, and we're at 14.5 there. So we still have to come this way just a little bit further. You always want to loosen the bars just a little bit so you don't scratch anything. I mean, the worst thing you want to do is scratch the paint off these. They're brand new and you don't want them to look bad. Now we're at 13 3/4 on that side, and we're at 14 on this side. So we need to come 1/8 of an inch over. I think I like where that sits. I'm going to go ahead and tighten it down the rest of the way. Once again, this is a good way to do this, having these semi-tightened in here. That way everything is still a little loose. Now you can go through on the end and actually tighten these up the rest of the way. Next up, we'll install the left grip here. I'm not going to grip glue this just because this is for video purposes only, so I'm just going to push it on for right now just to give us the aesthetics. I'm not sure if I'm keeping these handlebars or not. They were loaned to me to do this video, and I don't want to glue anything on them and then have to send them back, and then the owner of them is upset. So for now, I'm just going to slip that on. Typically, you'd use some grip glue. You'd heat that. Hairspray is another thing that works super well. So what you actually do is you coat the inside with hairspray here, and then you slide this on, and you let it cure. And it does a wonderful job. And it comes off fairly easy too with a little bit of heat. You can almost reactivate it. I know with these rubber grips, that can really be detrimental. You can melt these things real fast. You've got to be careful with what you're doing there. Next, we'll go ahead and we will grab the right side brake lever here, or the brake master here. We'll put that in place. Then we'll get the throttle tube in place, and then we'll put our clutch housing back on, and then we'll get an overall look of the bike. I don't like to use the electric wrench when I'm reinstalling things. I know you can change how they perform and what kind of pressures you're putting on these, or what kind of torque you're putting on these. Sometimes with these older parts, you can run into issues where they've been taken off and put on too many times, and they ultimately strip. So sometimes taking your time with a good old-fashioned just Allen wrench, or even a socket wrench set up real well, will help you out a lot. You know, it's one of those things you want to be careful with. So that way you don't damage something and cause, you know, even more of a project for yourself. So I like to reinstall these things by hand. So it makes the most sense to me. It makes it easier to know, you know, kind of where you're going, where the torque is at on these things, if they're actually biting, if you're going to cross thread something, or if you're going to just pull the threads directly out of these. You know, because it does happen. You don't want to tighten that up all the way, because the next thing we're going to do is pull this throttle tube housing apart the rest of the way. And with that being done, then we'll go ahead and put our new grip on. Now that I have the throttle housing in place here, that's all set up and springs back like it should. Now I can go ahead and retighten or tighten down all the way my brake master cylinder, and then finish up the left side. I like to do these in a crisscross pattern. I feel like that's the best way to tighten them up. Maybe there's a specific way to do it, but I've always done these crossways. So that's all set. We'll go ahead and we'll put our clutch perch back in place. Now that you have both controls put on the bike, the next thing to do is actually sit on the bike and stand it up and check to see where your controls land. I like to see that everything is, you know, fairly even. And looking at these, I can see that this needs to tip probably up a little bit. There. These are not quite tightened all the way. There. I like the look of that. I just have to adjust my mirror there, and then snug these things down, check my bolts here, check everything, make sure everything is snug down next. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to tighten everything up. I feel like this is, you know, right proper. I feel like this is where this should be. It should land right here. It looks good in my opinion. It feels comfortable here. All the controls are very readily accessible, and I really like how they turned out. So I'm going to go ahead and snug these down, snug the throttle housing down, make sure everything's tight. And then I'm going to get the camera off my head and then show you guys the view of the bike with the bars on from the front. Same with the top clamp. I like to go a crisscross pattern on these. Now that I have the bars installed, I'm going to go ahead and sit on the bike. I'm going to give you some measurements to give you an overall idea of the differences between the buckhorn bars that were on the bike and what I have now. We've changed the width of the bars a little bit. From end to end, fully installed, we're at 33 inches. Now these do have a slight pullback to them, and I feel that pullback's about an inch, inch and a half. And I can get those exact dimensions from the listing on eBay, which I will do, and I'll put in the description below. Now looking at this motorcycle, it has an entirely new look. Before, with the buckhorn bars, you were laid back and you were sitting comfortable. Not that this isn't comfortable, it's just a different type of a ride. This here gives you a very aggressive stance. And in my opinion, I like this. This is to me comfortable. When you're motoring down the road and your arms aren't way up here or tucked in like this, and you have a nice, almost natural grip to the bike where your wrists aren't bending or breaking in a specific way where you're getting some fatigue or, messing with, previous injuries or anything like that. To me, it's nice. Some of the things to consider when doing a project like this, now that the bars are on, you've got an overall look and you're happy with it, things that you would need to change or could change. Obviously, the brake line is too long, the clutch cable is too long. All of these things can be ordered in the correct length to bring this all in and tidy this all up and make it look very nice and very presentable. Looking at this and sitting on this, if you guys remember the bikes that were coming out in the late 80s and 90s, those tough guy kind of bikes where they were really streamlined and they had these types of bars and they were low and mean looking, this gives me that feel. I've seen a lot of older shovel heads that were produced in the late 80s and 90s and they had this style, and I really always liked those. And now that I'm sitting on this bike with these bars, I kind of get that feeling again. I like how this feels. It feels tough. It feels like I could ride it a long time. It feels, I don't know, it feels streamlined. It feels faster in my opinion. I know that's probably dumb to say, but it does feel faster. Impressions on the handlebars. Picking these things up initially, they're weighty. They are heavy. Now, I've had cheap bars from wherever in the past, and they're lightweight and they feel not made well. These ones have some girth to them, thickness as far as the tube ends or whatnot, and I can measure that real quick and let you know what that is. But they feel heavy in the hand. So when I pick these up, they add some good weight to them. They're a 1-inch bar, like I said, so they're going to fit any 1-inch application. And you can do kind of anything with these on most motorcycles, even with the risers here. If you wanted to get these up and have that T-bar style set, you could do something like that where you could put a 10-inch or a 12-inch riser and get these things kind of up further and change the whole look all over again. For me personally, I like this lower look. I think it looks cool. It reminds me of, my younger years and the bikes I was seeing when I was, a kid essentially, and I really liked. So this kind of brings me back to that. I would buy these bars. If I was building one of these bikes, I would buy these bars. They're nice. They've got a nice flat black finish for this motorcycle. I think they fit real well. This has got a nice old patinaed look. They really fit that motif. They're not high chrome. They don't, they don't not match the bike. I think they look really good on it. What did you guys think about the point of view installation? Did you like that? Did you not like that? I'd like to know in the comments below. That's the first time I shot like that, other than riding a motorcycle and having, camera strapped to my chest. Having it strapped to my head, was a weird feeling for me because, I'm not exactly sure, how well it shows what I'm doing as far as work. Hopefully better than you guys standing there and me standing here and kind of trying to show what I'm doing. Hopefully it made more sense seeing it that way. And if you like that, let me know. Maybe I'll buy a second camera and I'll run 2 points of view. Maybe I'll switch over to point of view, installations, teardowns, all that good stuff. I'm not exactly sure. So I'd like to know your comments. Like some feedback below, please. Well, friends, if you like this video, please give it a like. Give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, hit that subscribe button. I'm going to continue producing content like this, and as companies reach out to me and ask me to, highlight their products, I'm going to do those types of videos. So if you're looking for highlighted type videos and other companies that may want to work with me, maybe I'll have a product that you want to see me install on one of my motorcycles. I have a lot of different bikes throughout the years, and maybe something will fit, a project that you guys are working on. So hit that subscribe button and hit the notification bell, excuse me. It's the icon, looks like the little bell. If you hit that, every time I upload a video, you'll be notified. You'll get an email or a message through text or whatnot. Depends on how you have it set up for a subscription. But it'll let you know when I put out a new video, and that way if it's something that you're looking forward to, it'll show up. I know I put this out on my shorts feed first, and I kind of advertised what I was doing, so hopefully that gains some traction as well. I appreciate you guys, watching these videos and commenting and talking to me about all the different bikes and the projects I have going on. That correspondence it's super huge to me. I really appreciate it. I'm very thankful for that. Of course, if you are a company looking to have your products highlighted, if you're looking to partner with me, I'm always, able and willing to do anything. This was a cool little thing that came out of the blue. A company, like I said, reached out to me via email, and my email is in my YouTube description. And they asked me, hey, would you highlight our product? So here I am highlighting the product. I had a lot of fun with this install. I haven't put a set of drag bars on a motorcycle in a while, and it was kind of neat to be able to do that. So I liked it. A lot of fun. you guys want to partner with me and have me do some sort of an install too, let me know. Reach out. Hit me up in that email box. Or if you're a tool provider or a whatever, please feel free. I'd like to partner with whoever. Well, friends, this is fun. I got to end this video soon. I got to drag this motorcycle outside here and get some, pictures of the bars on the bike. The guy that sent these to me wanted to see, what this looked like after it was done. Obviously, they want to see the video too, so that's going to be produced and up tomorrow. But I'm going to take some pictures and send them pictures of it today so they can see how this thing turned out. And of course, I'll highlight this on my Instagram feed and my Facebook feed as well. So if you are looking for just different pictures, views, or angles of these bars installed on this motorcycle, check me out. All of those links are in my profile, actually. So if you're looking for my Instagram feed or my eBay page or my Facebook feed or any of those things, go to my homepage on YouTube here, and all of those things are listed. I've talked enough today. I appreciate you all sticking along to the end. We'll catch you next time.